Welcome to your City Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. Please turn off or silence all cell phones during the meeting. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 7 p.m. and midnight and available for viewing on YouTube and Facebook Live. In accordance with Kansas Open Meetings Act, the meeting can be viewed on Channel 2 and via Facebook Live. The public is encouraged to view the meeting using one of those options. The Leavenworth City Commission meeting is open to the public with limited seating capacity. To mitigate the spread of COVID-19, face coverings and social distancing is required to attend the meeting. To attend the meeting in person, email C. Williamson at firstcity.org no later than 4 p.m. on November 24th to reserve a seat. Seats are available on a first-come, first-served basis. If you are not attending the meeting but would like to submit public comments to be read during the public comments portion of the meeting, or submit questions on an agenda item to be read during the discussion on that topic, email your comments or questions to C. Williamson at firstcity.org no later than 6 p.m. on November 24th. So the first thing we're going to do is a Pledge of Allegiance followed by silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Well, my first order of business this evening is I have the honor and the distinction, Mr. Norm Dawson, would you please come up here? And Nancy, would you like to come up and stand next to Norm, or would you prefer to sit?
Well, he's the one in the line.
Okay. Okay. All right, sir. Very good. But Nancy Dawson is here, Norm's wife, and their daughter Cindy. Thank you very much for coming and making the trek up from Lenexa, I believe now, having just recently moved there from probably 50 or maybe even a little bit more than 50 years in our city. So that must have been quite a move as far as all the things you had to get ready. But I am very pleased tonight to be able to present the Mayor's Award for Community Service to Mr. Norman Dawson, who's been a member of our community in the city of Leavenworth and the larger community for, I think, since 1962, from what I understand. And he was a preeminent person in the banking business, in the banking industry. Came to Leavenworth as the majority stockholder and owner, I think, of Manufacturers Bank, and did all the business operations and business services to the developmental community within the city of Leavenworth, the business community, and of course our citizens, and had a stellar career. I first met Norm when we were on the Armed Forces Insurance Company Board of Directors together. Norm had been on there for a few years as an external director because of his expertise in banking and those type of things, and brought that great experience to the Board of Armed Forces Insurance. Up to that time, it was mainly a bunch of retired colonels who kind of knew what they were doing, but needed people like Norm to give them the expertise and the experience as far as business operations with the company. But I learned a lot from Norm for the 2 or 3 years that we were on the board together. But he did a lot during his career here and with his family in support of the community. And I'm going to talk about some of those things tonight in the abstract of the award. And that's what we're recognizing him for, all the task forces, all the special groups that he led and or was a participating member of, really led to great improvements within the city of Leavenworth. And that's the background in terms of this particular Mayor's Award for Community Service. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and present the award to you and read the citation. City of Leavenworth, Norm Dawson is presented the Mayor's Award for Community Service for dedicated service and exceptional contributions to Leavenworth City and the surrounding community since his arrival in 1962. As a successful and respected business leader, Mr. Norm Dawson was active in countless community groups and causes, including the Leavenworth Lansing Chamber of Commerce, Leavenworth Board of Education, United Way, and the Water Board, to name a few. One of Norm's most notable contributions was as a founding member of the Community Center Committee. This group was the driving force in transforming a dilapidated train depot into the Riverfront Community Center. Through insightful planning, public engagement, and remarkable perseverance, the group curated a world-class venue for the community to recognize organizational and individual excellence, celebrate special occasions, and just have fun. The First City of Kansas is grateful for Norm's legacy of community service over 5 decades. And I've signed it as the mayor, City of Leavenworth, Myron J., Mike Griswold, and thank you very much, Norm, for all your contributions for the City of Leavenworth. And I also have a little, this is the coin of the city, and a lapel pin for you, so hope you can like that, and when you go out, sometimes wear that lapel pin. It's First City of Kansas, and very special, and I'm going to turn it over to you for any comments or...
I forgot to wear mine.
Yeah.
Well, I won't take long. Leavenworth's been good to us. Maybe you better come up here. Of the projects that I was involved with, the community center was the top. Ed Van Loon and I was having a nice evening, and if we wanted a group of any size, we had no place to meet. And we used to go up Fort Leavenworth to Officers Club. And then that became not an option, or a harder one. And then we used St. Mary's College dining room, and they had their own activities. So then Mac Greenemeyer let us use the upstairs in the 200 block, didn't have an elevator, had a lot of space. And we said, we got to do something. So Ed did the first trip to see Mac Greenemeyer, and then later we got Mac to donate the depot, or the Greenemeyer family. And so then, what are we going to do with it now that we got this thing? They deeded it to the city. Well, through the process, we had nothing but cooperation from the city. I was trying to think, I think Mark Pence was city manager, and Andy Anderson may have had one more. But city appointed a committee, Ed and I kind of headed it, and we knew this was going to be expensive. So Ed and I had a dog and pony show, and we raised $500,000 cash from the merchants and any individual, whoever wanted to contribute. And that was going to get us off the ground, but we knew that wasn't going to do it. And but prior to that, it had been almost impossible to pass a levy for a tax increase. So we decided we used that $500,000 to kind of get this thing going. And then about the same time, the library, we were getting ours pretty well along the road. Put it down, I think it was half set sales tax, as I remember. And here come the library board and wanted us to include the library to go in the old Jan's grocery store in the same vote for the community center. So we did that, and it passed. And that gave us the money, then the income, to put the swimming pool on, the gymnasium, fix that building. And I won't go into much more except one thing. That building, the wood in it that you see down there now, it was blacker than that chair. Because through the years, they burned coal as a depot in the old days. It was filthy in there. Mac Greenemeyer had a full of lumber. And well, anyway, we Mac moved it out where they are now, Basel. And the lady well, the women's prison was here then in Lansing. And we talked to the lady in charge of the women's prison. I don't remember her name. She was a gunner. And she let us use those women prisoners to strip all the wood in that building that's still there. What a job. The only thing it cost us was the guard and pizza.
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 And I don't know how many pizzas we bought.
It was worth it, yeah.
It was worth every penny. And they were there and they got it done. And they did a great job. So you see it now, that's how those women left it. So anyway, Leavenworth is our home. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. And you don't have to stay here, so. But
We probably go on.
Yeah. Good seeing you, thank you. And
Thank you,
Nice
man.
meeting you, Cindy.
Thank you.
And we really enjoyed that story and just gave us an example of your business acumen in terms of some good innovative solutions to come up with.
We're great.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing great stuff.
Yep. Take care, Nancy. Take care.
Mark, don't forget tonight.
Yeah, I gotta get my hat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night.
Good choice.
Oh,
Good choice.
yes.
We're going to go to, hold on a minute, just wait one. Employee Service Awards. And I am going to, of course, they're not here tonight, but we're going to go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and recognize them. So this is what, we had a policy, I have a policy report on this, but in 2020, 7 employees reached a milestone in their career with the city of Leavenworth. These employees are being recognized for their faithful, dedicated, loyal, and continuous service to the city. In turn, they are being recognized / announced on the local level at the city commission meeting here this evening, and will be presented their service awards and certificates by the department director or supervisor. In addition to recognizing the 10 and 25-year awards, we are also recognizing those employees who have continued loyal service to the city and/or local government. A listing of those obtaining 15, 20, 30, and 35 years of service will be mentioned at the end of this report. And just a little background, in 1926, the League of Kansas Municipalities began the practice of recognizing city employees for faithful, continuous service. The pride and devotion shown by these men and women in their jobs is an important factor in making Kansas communities a better place to live, including Leavenworth, the first city of Kansas. The following City of Leavenworth employees are being honored at this time, and I am going to first talk about the people receiving 10-year awards, and I'll give a very brief little bio in terms of the 4 people who are receiving 10-year awards. Leslie Klein. Les was hired on March 18, 2010 as an animal control officer. He was promoted to animal control supervisor on December 17, 2015, and this is the position he currently holds today. Orlando Hughes. Lana was hired on October 21st, 2010, and as PT court clerk, the position she holds today. Isaiah Mayer. Isaiah was hired on August 5th, 2010 as firefighter and was promoted on May 8th, 2014 to driver/operator. Isaiah was promoted to fire captain on August 10th, 2017, and this is the position he holds today. Darren Trinkle. Darren was hired on May 27th, 2010 as a firefighter, and this is the position he holds today. So those are our employees who have earned their 10-year awards. The next people are being recognized for their 25-year awards in service of the community of Leavenworth. Rebecca Beaver. Becky was hired on November 13th, 1995 as a telecommunications specialist. Since her hire, she has held the following positions: reception/office clerk as of April 17, 1998, admin clerk at WPC as of January 16, 2003, an admin clerk in the streets department as of November 25th, 2010. Becky was promoted to streets foreman on July 13th, 2017, and this is the position she holds today. Sherman Harvey. Sherman was hired on June 23rd, 1995 as a firefighter. Sherman was promoted to driver operator on April 28th, 2011, and promoted to fire captain on May 19th, 2016, the position he holds today. Ralph Sorrell. Ralph was hired on August 14th, 1995 as a police officer. He was promoted to police sergeant on December 14th, 2006, and received his reclassification to Sergeant 1 on December 19th, 2013. He received his reclassification to Sergeant 2 on December 15th, 2016, and to Sergeant 3 on December 26th, 2019. This is the position he holds today. Let's give those people a round of applause. And we'd also like to recognize the following individuals for milestone achievements. I'm not going to get into a little bio, but I will mention your years of service and the people. 15 years of service. Delta Anderson, telecommunications specialist. James Beardsley, streets equipment operator 1. Andrew Brinker, police sergeant 1. Larry Hunnenhake, fire captain. Steve King, solid waste foreman. Clinton Marsh, firefighter. Michael Menard, fire captain. Matthew Nickel, police sergeant. Christopher Simpson, fire driver/operator. Roy Simpson, streets equipment operator 1. Andrew Youngins, fire driver/operator. And then 20 years of service. Sean Kell, safety officer/health inspector. William McKeel, fire battalion chief. Justin Stewart, engineering tech 2. Karen Wilk, telecommunications specialist, 30 years of service. Pat Kitchens, police chief, 35 years of service. Karen Parker, senior accountant. So let's give those people a round of applause too. Long and distinguished service as part of the City of Leavenworth government and to the citizens of the first city of Kansas. So,
Mr. Mayor, do you know if Karen Parker, is she our most tenured employee? Does anyone know?
Between her and Carrie.
Her or Carrie Collins in the clerk's office, one of
Okay,
those two.
yeah.
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 okay, well that was a real pleasure, and best of those people, and good time to recognize them on the short week of just before Thanksgiving. So we are going to go to the next agenda item, which is consideration of previous meeting minutes. Are there any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners on the meetings or minutes from our November 10th, 2020 regular meeting?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve minutes from November 10th, 2020, regular meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on approving our previous meeting minutes of our meeting on November 10th, 2020. We will begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I as the mayor vote aye. The vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. The motion carries. So we have approved our minutes from our meeting on November 10th, 2020. Second consideration ordinances, that's the next order of old business. And this is second consideration ordinance 8155, amending section 44-189 emergency snow routes. Mr. Kramer, anything?
Mr. Mayor and Commission, there were a few changes between first reading and second reading. Since they are brief, I'll go through them quickly. On the east-west streets, Michaels Road, we added Michaels Road, Tonganoxie Road to Richmond Drive as an emergency snow route. North-South streets, we just had 3 changes. 2nd Avenue, that will now go from Spruce Street to Limit Street. 4th Street, Metropolitan Avenue to Limit Street. And 5th Street, Metropolitan Avenue to Spruce Street. Those just all reflect current conditions. There are no changes to the modifications we presented at first reading. And these will just go into the ordinance that notes the snow routes and also the snow control plan that we put online every year.
Any questions or comments for our city manager? Now, this requires a roll call vote since it is for second consideration. So we are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson? Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0, the ayes have it. So we've approved second consideration, ordinance 8155, and basically that ordinance is adopted, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. New business, public comment. This is for items not listed on the agenda or for receipt of petitions. And is there anybody in the audience who would like to come forward and comment during this public comment period? And please state your name and address.
Good evening, Wendy Scheit, the director of the Leavenworth Main Street Program. We're at 416 Cherokee. Just wanted to make you all aware that this Saturday is Shop Small Saturday. The Miracle on Main Street is what we call it. It's a $1,000 giveaway, and so this has been going on for a number of years. It was so successful for the first few years that we added Christmas in July. So for every $25 that folks spend at participating merchants on Saturday, they're entered into a drawing. They fill out tickets, and we compile all those tickets, and we draw on December 2nd. We award 10 bundles of 100 Main Street bucks, which recirculate among the merchants as well. So we hope that you all come down and shop small on Saturday. To me, I think Shop Small Saturday should be every Saturday or every day of the week. But we have more and more people that, you know, I believe that they're supporting their local communities, their local businesses. It really does matter. They're the folks that are supporting all the youth groups, the school groups, the church groups. They get hit up I don't know how many times. And so please remember that this has been a tough year for them. No matter how they pivoted, it's been tough, and it continues to be tough. So we hope that we see you all and you put some tickets in their container. And then the other item, hopefully you all are rocking around the Christmas tree. This started on November 9th. It's another way that Main Street has devoted all of our efforts into getting folks into the small businesses. It started November 9th. Every week we have a drawing on Friday for 100 Main Street bucks. The first week we had about 25 entries, total about $4,800. The second week, we had 54 entries, total about $8,900. This Friday, we'll do another drawing and continue on. And on December 23rd, we will have a large basket drawing with merchandise and other cool stuff that'll probably be valued at over $500. Everybody gets entered into that drawing. So it's been, rewarding. It's a brand new activity, have never had it before, but we wanted to do something that would take the merchants through the holiday season. This is the money flyer that all the businesses, we hand delivered them. They should have them. You can pick them up at the Main Street office. All you have is 8 stamps from one or various businesses, and turn it into the Main Street office. Some of the merchants bring them down.
I did it.
Marley and I participate, but we can't win, but we still participate, and believe me, the dollars go. So
That's a great presentation, Ms. Scheit. Any questions or comments for Ms. Scheit from my fellow commissioners?
It's great.
No, it's great.
Thank you very much. I did see the email that Marley put out either today or yesterday afternoon, but she mentioned she was thinking it was going to be good weather on Saturday. Is that possibility? So hopefully it will be, and regardless, hopefully there'll be a really good turnout. I've seen previous Shop Small Saturdays in recent years, and there are a lot of people who go downtown and shop in the city of Leavenworth, and hopefully that'll occur again this coming Saturday. Thank you. The next,
We have one more.
okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank
State
you.
your name and address, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Sarah George, and I am a resident of Leavenworth
Okay.
County.
I'd prefer not give out my address on
Okay.
such a public forum.
Sure.
But I would like to address the board in regards to the actions that the board took last Thursday, 19 November, when an emergency hearing was held with only 22 hours notice, public notice, before the meeting to determine whether or not a mask mandate would be instituted for the first city of Kansas. Now, I am not a native to Kansas, but I have now lived here since 2014, and I call Leavenworth home. I really love this place. And it was really shocking to me because I have prided myself when I tell my friends where I'm from that my city has stood to protect to respect persons and their property in not enacting overburdensome mandates on the general population. So I had contacted via email, once I heard of this meeting, all of the commissioners, and to date, I have not received any response from the commissioners regarding the emergency meeting, which was not an emergency, in fact. The mortality rate for COVID-19 from the CDC, I'm not making up these numbers, and I've sent them to you, is only a 0.042% death rate as of 18 November. It's a 99.958% survival rate. So it would lead me to believe, and I think most of you who are sensible, rational, non-emotional people, to see that there is not, in fact, an emergency. And yet, a mandate was voted upon with only 4 members of the public able to voice their opinions on this to the board. I personally don't feel as a citizen that that was ample warning given to the citizens that there was going to be such an emergency meeting held. Furthermore, if it was such an emergency, shouldn't the mask mandate have taken effect earlier than 21 November, a full 48 hours after you had voted to have a mandate? No. It's proof that there was actually no emergency behind that. Secondly, I know a lot, the mayor particularly, is of the Democrat Party, who happens to value my body, my choice, which really strikes me funny that somebody would say a mask needs to be worn on somebody else's body, not giving them the choice to do so. Currently, businesses all throughout Leavenworth have the options and have had the options of asking people to mask up. And I patronize those businesses just as much as I patronize businesses who don't. And I mask up. And I think it's a really great way to respect your citizens in asking them to voluntarily mask up. You're giving them the opportunity to show grace and be gracious, rather than acting draconian and with the perception of rushing a judgment down upon them that wasn't actually necessary. Now, my third concern about this mask mandate is what I believe is probably the most important, since my father was a policeman for 30 years in Denver. You're pitting citizens against the police. The police have a very hard job, as it already is, as 2020 has been for them. And you are making it even harder when you pit ordinary law-abiding citizens who think this mask mandate is not warranted and unconstitutional with the law enforcement officers who are enacted and who are charged by you to enforce this mandate. Now, if you were out there asking people to mask up, that might be a different thing, but these officers put their lives on the line every day so that they can keep us all safe. And now you're creating another point of friction between them and the general population. I worry about that. I think that the police here in Leavenworth have had a wonderful relationship with their citizens, which is why we haven't had many riots and protests, and thank God for that. And that's why I don't want further acrimony to be bred between the citizens and the police. So, my bottom line is I am going to ask for a motion for the council to reconsider the action taken relative to the mask mandate and on 19 November, that they would reconsider that and call for a regular meeting in which citizens are able to address the board with a regular 1-week notice of your board meetings, which regularly happen on Tuesday. And if the COVID-19 restrictions are so burdensome that you can't have very many people in this room, my suggestion would be that you secure a larger facility for such a meeting, because it's important that you hear from the citizens. You are enacted with great power, and it is incumbent upon you to use it responsibly. Your oath of office requires that you follow the U.S. Constitution, which was instituted to protect citizens' rights from government overreach, however well-intentioned the government may be. It is clear that you have good intentions towards the citizens, and I commend your good intentions. I just think that you're going about it the wrong way. If we look at the majority of people who are dying from COVID, they have comorbid conditions. And so if you're really concerned about protecting the citizens, you will enact some draconian measure to stop people from getting obese. You'll control how much food they intake. But is that the real bottom line? I implore you to please respect people's persons and their property, being their businesses here in Leavenworth, Kansas. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Ms. George.
And my motion requires a second, so I would love if somebody can second my motion. Thank you.
I don't think you can make a motion as a citizen.
Citizens can't make
I appreciate
motions.
your input, and,
Well, thank you very much.
thank you. All right. We are going to go to general items under new business, cancel outstanding checks prior to 2019.
Don't we have to close the meeting, or close public comment?
No.
Oh, no, okay, sorry. Nope. Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Commission, the following item is an annual event that we do in coordination with KSA 10-816A, and these are checks that the city has that we cancel. I always remind the commission each year that this doesn't mean that we won't pay these individuals if they come to the city, but we need to cancel them as an accounting measure. And so that is on tonight for consideration. Some of these, as you can see, range back quite a long time, but that's just what we ask the commission to do each year.
Okay. Any questions or comments for the city manager on this particular agenda item? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we cancel outstanding checks prior to 2019 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on this particular agenda item. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Lienhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. The motion carries. So we've approved the cancellation of the outstanding checks prior to 2019. Mayor's appointments. I am going to move to appoint to the Convention and Tourism Committee Ms. Sherry Brown to an unexpired term ending January 31st, 2021, and appoint to the Community Corrections Advisory Board Mr. Jonathan Perrall to an unexpired term through October 16th, 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick question. On the Convention and Tourism Bureau, we're just doing it for 60 days? Is that correct?
That is correct. We're filling an unexpired term, and then, as
Yeah,
long as
that
she
way.
wants to be,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
just to
fine.
keep
Thank
the
you.
terms going, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second, and we are going to begin with Commissioner Lienhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0, the ayes have it, the motion carries, so we approve these appointments to the two committees, the two of the city's committees. The next is a COVID-19 relief small business grant program review.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I'm going to turn this over in just a second to our Assistant City Manager, Taylor Tedder, who handles this. The city has been, over the last 2 weeks, aggressively handing out community assistance grants to our nonprofit community, our higher education, our food pantries, our service agencies. The second prong of that is to get some relief to our businesses. And so Taylor is here tonight to go over the business program that we hope to launch tomorrow morning live on the city's website. So I'm going to turn it over to Taylor to go through the program.
Hello, Mr. Tedder.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commission. So as you know, we have a lot of great businesses in our community, whether that's in Main Street or all over the community. And a lot of them have been hit hard by the pandemic. And so I've put together this COVID-19 Relief Small Business Grant Fund to support businesses that need that assistance in paying their employees, purchasing additional inventory, paying mortgage and rent, and utilities. So this grant is proposed to offer up to a one-time $5,000 grant to offset their business expenses or revenue losses. We're proposing an allocation of $250,000 for this grant fund. Essentially, there will probably be a high volume of applicants, so I'm planning to review the applications weekly and review them for a need-based merit to award them upon. And I've put together a completely secure, fillable online form so that there's no confusion in paper applications not being received. We had a little bit of an issue with that with the community development loan. So this is a way that everything's centralized and they fill out the fillable form online. I would like to kind of take you through it to show you just in 1 second. Okay, so this is the form, and it starts out with a little bit about it that I've already talked about. And then here's where we get into some of the eligibility. Let me try to zoom this in for you a little. So you have to be located in Leavenworth. So the great thing about the form with our new website is they can directly upload a utility bill or their mortgage or lease statement. So they can do that. They have to have between 1 and 50 employees. And this is the other piece of information that they have to upload is their employee roster. And those are the only two pieces of information they have to turn in with the application. Because I've seen so many applications be so burdensome with tax returns and employee ledgers and profit loss statements. And you can really get a good picture of the business by all the questions that I'm asking. So they have to have documented expenses of their revenue loss between March and October 2020 versus the same time period in 2019. And that loss has to be at least $2,500. And we may request verification upon request of any of those, but it's not required for the application. And any expenses that have been reimbursed from other relief funding sources like PPP, EIDL, the higher fund, CDBG loans are not eligible, but businesses pretty much use those very quickly. So running into that probably will not be much of a issue. The other piece, the business has to be in business for the past 24 months, and they cannot have filed for bankruptcy over the past 24 months. And then it is 1 grant per owner, shareholder, registered agent, individual in the city of Leavenworth. So some businesses have multiple LLCs in one building, and this is to mitigate that because we're going to have a lot of applications, and it's unfair for one person to get 3 and the next none. So this is a feature that was included with our new website, which I'm very grateful for. So you can go through here with these drop downs, and it's got click buttons, and so this is essentially everything that we've discussed. but it's very usable and user-friendly, and I'm really looking forward to moving forward with this program and getting some more business assistance out there. It seems like it's very needed, and help those businesses.
There's an allocation of $250,000, correct?
Correct.
And I think the maximum award for each business is $5,000, so, I mean, hopefully there will be a demand for 50 businesses to go
Yeah.
ahead and put
I
their
think-
applications in.
Having applied for a lot of grants, I think this is, for $5,000, this is very simple. You don't want to make it too difficult for $5,000. If you were applying for 25 or 30,000, that'd be different, but I think this is great. I do think it would be real easy to fill out.
Thank you.
Ms. Scheit, were you gonna say anything about, did you wanna say something about this particular agenda item? Yes, you can.
Wendy Scheit, the Leavenworth Main Street Director. I just wanted you to realize that many businesses are newer than 2 years old. They don't have those financials to provide. I counted, just in my head, 11 today. And so that was part of the issue with the early funding opportunities as well. They had to be in business at least a year or two. And so this is going to eliminate some folks that I really feel like need the grant. I've visited with Taylor often about different opportunities, and many of those are a sole proprietor or an owner, and they have no employees. And so in those previous government programs, they weren't eligible to apply because as an owner, they couldn't do that. Now, Taylor tells me that as an owner, they'll be considered for that if they've been in business for the 24 months. But I know several businesses that started out about last November, Thanksgiving-ish time, so they're not even at a year. We had several new businesses that started even this year before COVID hit. We have more businesses that are starting during COVID. So I don't know if maybe the city could consider some type of a grant opportunity for those less than 24 months, if there's any money left, or put a little bit aside. That would be good. The CDBG didn't work for many of them for whatever hurdles they encountered. The PPP, many of them applied for that if they had employees. But most of the CARES Act money went fast. The Sparks money went even faster. I don't know how many calls I got about the Sparks application. They filled it out. You know, do you know anything? Who got it? Well, I understand only 3 businesses in all of Leavenworth County were awarded that, but I've still never heard any of the results. So, you know, obviously they've forgotten about that, but they're still in really dire straits. And I think the major thing is that if they can be considered as an owner, and they've been in business for 24 months, that will be a positive. But whatever you could do for those that are in business less than 24 months, between Grow Leavenworth County, Main Street, LCDC, all of us, as we're looking at helping these businesses succeed, we're making sure they have a business plan. We're encouraging them to have a loan. But many entrepreneurs pride themselves in saving up their money. They have this dream, they have a good business plan, and they didn't want to be in debt. So, you know, this doesn't require a loan, but all of the other resources do. So I guess I'm trying to look at how could you do a good faith grant for those that are less than 24 months old, could provide whatever financials they might have to date. We're hearing that some businesses, even during COVID, grew. They did their homework and pivoted to lots of other types of marketing. But there's a significant need for those that are less than 24 months in business.
Mr. Tedder, is the 24 months a hard and fast criteria for this particular opportunity?
Not necessarily, but the reason that we chose 24 months is that when we were reviewing several applications for the CDBG forgivable loan, We did get several applications from businesses that were started maybe in November or January that said they were operating, however, showed barely any revenue, had not submitted any tax, sales tax to the state, and so it just, they weren't viable businesses. So could we adjust the 24 months? We could.
Is it the city, the city manager, you as the assistant city manager, and the city commission be the final arbiters as far as the criteria? Or-
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Commissioner, we modeled this off a lot of similar grant programs in the metropolitan area, and it really is designed to fit your community. So if the commission wanted to make some sort of exception, you could. The 24 months also is because these are the businesses who have invested in your community for a long time. And we have, depending on the amount, you have between 50 and 100 grants, probably closer to 50 than 100. And you have hundreds of businesses. And so that was the reason. It's a pretty standard 24 months across the board. I totally get what the Main Street Director is saying. And if the commission wanted to look at something supplemental or something different, we could certainly do that. But that's the goal or the emphasis behind the 24
I
months.
was thinking maybe, if we kept the criteria the same, let's see, you can't have a grant can go up to 5,000, so if every business puts in a grant for 5,000, we have 50 of them, we may not have that demand, but if we're short or south of that particular demand, then maybe that would be a good time to maybe,
So you're
Be a
saying
little
after,
flexible.
after the grants have been,
right,
After this
after they
program.
start executing and.
and if we have some left,
Right.
then yeah.
Right, that's
what
one
I would
option,
think,
I don't know
maybe.
if that's ideal.
Yeah, my, a little bit the same thought, that a particular set of, number of days, maybe that'd be 60 days, 90 days, take that direction or input from the city manager, assistant city manager. After that point in time, if there's money left over, can we open it up a little bit broader? But at first, the spirit and intent of this is, as the city manager said, for those that have been here 24 months or more, great investment in the communities, not saying that the new businesses haven't, but this really set up for them, that they have the, they can show what they've lost based on a couple of years of history. So, after a period of 60 days, 90 days, maybe something that you come back to. But a period of time, then if there's money left, possibly we'll entertain recommendations from you how to handle it. That would be my thoughts.
So do we have a time period where this would start and end, or no?
No, the applications would be reviewed weekly. I fully anticipate that we'll run out of funds within a month.
Yeah.
Under the current criteria.
Correct.
So there's a big enough demand for this, you're pretty sure?
Yes.
I've had some businesses contact me and want to know they're coming to the commission. I said, no, it's within the purview, it's within the spending authority of the city manager.
And the source of these funds, is it the CARES Act, the money that came from the
From the
federal
county.
government to the state?
Sort of.
Yeah.
So what the city elected to do was we reimbursed public safety payroll with CARES Act dollars, which
Right.
gives us more flexibility. So these actually are general fund dollars, which allows us to give a little more flexibility in time. But essentially, they are made possible by CARES Act dollars.
Okay.
Ms. Shai, what was the other point in terms of I think we have a consensus that we want to stick with the current criteria. I appreciate your input, and we'll see. Maybe the whole $250,000 will go in 30 days, maybe it won't, but, if we get to the 45-day mark, I would ask the city manager and the assistant city manager to come back to the city commission for, being a little bit more flexible and being a little bit more lenient in terms of the criteria we just talked about as far as the amount of time being in business. But initially, I think we and I can go around, but I think the three commissioners here have a consensus that we want to stick with the criteria that, has been briefed to us this evening.
As Jermaine.
Jermaine, what do you think?
What There, oh, something happened.
Yeah, so if there's funding where, that's remaining, that's left over, yeah, I would definitely, would like to open it up to some of those newer businesses. But I would definitely start off with those that have been established, for 24 months first.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Commissioner
same,
Reinhardt?
yep,
And you
agree.
feel the same
Yep.
way, Commissioner Bell?
Yeah, I'd wait
Okay.
for 60 days. and see
Okay,
what-
we appreciate your input, that's kind of where we've ended up tonight on that. Was there something else about the kind of the required
Well, what-
documentation? I'm not sure we can get away from that.
When I visited with Taylor here at the meeting, I mentioned the 1 to 50 employees and that many of them are owners and not considered an employee and they weren't eligible for anything, but he assured me that that would be, owners could be counted as one employee.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so
that
it'll
makes
really
sense,
be
'cause
on a
they
case-by-case basis,
Yeah.
but I know of several businesses just around the corner where we've done e-community loans for or something of that nature. They don't take a salary, but they work there, they're the employee.
Right.
This is, so, let's say you have a business where there's no brick and mortar building and there's no employees or something of that nature, but, they would count as employees and we don't have to follow, HUD guidelines or anything of that nature. So with them being the general fund dollars, it does give us the flexibility to interpret that, so.
Is it eligible for non-brick and mortar businesses?
No, it's just brick and mortar business.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
okay.
And, if it's an employee or owner is the only employee, as long as that owner is taking a salary on their P&L, in which they pay, they will have a W-2 or they'll have, salary information. But if they take it all in dividends, which you can as a S corp or an LLC at times, then they wouldn't have salary information, so it probably would not pertain to them. And there's, if you're the owner, operator, the only employee.
Right, we're talking
and
more
it'd be-
of sole proprietors or, an
Yeah.
LLC or something.
Yeah, and there's probably very few that just have one employee being the owner completely that can, you can't run a store or anything. I mean, it's very difficult to run a store just completely by yourself, but it can be done. but
Yeah, I
very
think it's
difficult.
a rare occurrence, but
Yeah,
it could come
extremely
up and I would interpret that as
Sure,
their employee.
yeah.
Okay.
So the owner would have salary information if in fact they pay themselves a salary. And they have to have that, not just dividend payment.
Right.
Ms. Scheit, anything else?
No, just that our ones that are starting out are certainly valuable to downtown.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
filling those empty spaces, they're taking a chance. Taylor and I and all the others that work with entrepreneurs, we really talk to them about their business plans and let them know what they're in for. And for the most part, I think they're prepared. But many businesses for the first couple years or later, more, they aren't taking a salary. They're not making money. They're breaking even, but they're,
Yeah.
so.
And I understand that, I would ask the city manager and the assistant city manager to discuss it a little bit. I think we've come down in terms of this particular program where we want to be, but I understand what you're talking about, and I don't know if there's some flexibility in some other program or some other source of funds where we could maybe prioritize those, newer business owners.
Sure.
I just don't know that right now, but I understand where you're coming from, and I certainly value their decision to make, to take advantage and to try to establish a business in the city of Leavenworth, and I value that. I just think for this particular program, we're pretty comfortable with the criteria, and we'll see where we are in a month or so.
And when does this go live, Taylor? Friday,
Tomorrow,
Thursday?
as soon as I
Wednesday? All
have
right.
approval and as soon as I'm able to get it up.
And that link will be through economic development?
We'll have it on the homepage as a spotlight towards the bottom of the page as a featured story, and then it will live on the economic development page, so you'll be able to get it there too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scheit.
Thank you.
And we also plan to share it on social media and send a press release to the paper.
Oh, good.
So we'll do everything we can. I also have email list of several, business contacts that I have throughout the city. And I also have a short list of people that have talked to me throughout the last several months that, wanted to
It'll be
know
out
whenever
there.
there's assistance.
Okay.
Great.
All
So
right,
I'm
thank you.
just
So,
looking for consensus.
yeah, and so that's right, and I think we have it. Let's go around the horn though, because we need to provide official consensus for the staff to proceed with the relief grant program as presented. So I'm gonna begin with, Commissioner Leonhard. Are you good to go?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowder?
Yes.
And I, as the mayor, say yes, move forward, you have consensus, and, based on the discussion that we have, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we are under resolutions. Good night, Ms. Scheit.
Thank you.
B 2272, resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds, luxury and imports.
Taylor's gonna continue with this item?
Yeah, so, luxury imports, we recently did the community improvement district for them, the CID of the 0.45% sales tax. And this is technically related to that whole total project, and their costs have increased. So you'll see that, this is for industrial revenue bonds, taxable IRBs, and this is for improvements at luxury and imports. And the IRB process essentially utilizes the city's tax exemption certificate. So this would make all of their purchases of goods and materials for those projects tax exempt and lets them use the city's tax exempt certificate. So this would not have any debt or burden on the city at all. It's essentially a pass-through type situation. And so they or their bank would purchase the bonds, and then it grants them that use of the exemption certificate. So that would result in an approximate savings of $261,000 for the total project if they spend the $2.75 million. Essentially, anything purchased up to this point would be taxed, and this before you tonight is just a resolution of intent, so it's not necessarily issuing the IRBs tonight, but this is the first step in that process.
Yep, it's a resolution expressing the intent of the city, right, to issue its federally taxable industrial revenue bonds.
And it does exempt that full 9.5% sales tax through the city, county, and state and school district. And cities do have that option of having the unilateral tax exemption. Later on in the IRB process, the other parties would have opportunity to provide comment if they desire, so.
Questions or comments from Mr. Tedder from commissioners?
Mr. Mayor, the total amount of the IRB is for $2,750,000, as Mr. Tedder said. 9.5% of that is $261,000, whatever number you quoted. Keep in mind, 6.5% of that is the state, 3% is the city and county. So if they would buy every piece of building material in the city or county of Leavenworth, that's potentially approximately $81,000 that the benefit that the lost opportunity, if you will, for the city and county. But the reality is, there's not steel to be bought in the city or county. This is a program put out by the state, is it not? The state has approved this or allowed cities to.
It's a state statute.
It's a state statute.
It's a state statute,
this.
and that is done to incent businesses to expand and give them a little bit of a leg up. But I just want to make it clear that we're really not giving up $261,000 in revenue. They are saving potentially $261,000, but it's not for product that's even purchased here, big building materials, wherever it may be coming from, whether it be Texas, Oklahoma, or maybe it be coming from Missouri, maybe someplace in Kansas, but not right here.
Necessarily. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Tedder? And so I will at this point entertain a motion on this particular agenda item.
I move that we adopt Resolution B 2272, issuing federal taxable industrial revenue bonds for luxury and imports.
I second.
There's a motion and a second on this particular agenda item. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger. Aye. Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we've adopted Resolution B 2272. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is policy report. Consider amendment to 1994 lease agreement with Supermarket Developers LLC, Price Chopper.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned to the Commission that we had completed our actions with Price Chopper as for the City Commission, and we were going forward. But as you see, there is an agreement, a lease agreement edit in front of you tonight. If you'll remember, one of the things we did when we went through the Price Chopper process was we assigned a lease agreement that we had for a parking lot north of the building that they leased from the city, that Price Chopper leased from the city. It was under an entity that no longer exists, and we assigned that to the new Supermarket Developers LLC. Well, a couple of weeks later, I'm guessing as the point of getting the assignment done, they were looking through the agreement and thought, boy, we really should have updated this when we did the assignment provisions. So all they're asking for tonight is a few items to further amend the agreement. One of them being, it originally was 50 years that would have expired, and they're requesting to extend that another 25. One of the items is confirming that the requirements of improvements made back in 1994 have been completed. It's just simply updating the agreement to reflect that. And then in the original agreement for 1994, there's a requirement of constructing a fence with the city providing a gate. It sounded like a good idea at the time. It was never done. And in cleaning up the agreement, they would ask that we remove the requirement of the construction of a fence and the city providing a gate. So I don't see anything in here that really changes the agreement. We should have probably addressed these things when we did the assignment provision a couple years ago. But we've been working well with Supermarket Developers LLC. These were requests that they had that we make to that agreement. We have no issues with any of these proposed changes.
Okay.
Any questions or comments for the city manager on this particular agenda item? Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the amendment to the 1994 lease with Supermarket Developers doing business as Price Chopper.
I second.
There's a motion and a second on this particular agenda item. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhardt.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson? Commissioner Preisinger? Aye. Commissioner Bowder?
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. The motion carries. So we've approved the amendments to the 1994 parking area lease agreement as presented. Okay, next is first consideration ordinance amending section 18-94 land disturbance permit fees, bonds and fines.
City Clerk Carla Williamson will handle this item.
Mayor and Commissioner, this is just kind of a little cleanup of an item that we found that we overlooked. You might remember we did the recodification of our entire code late 2018, early in 2019. And part of the thing, one of the things that we did was to take, there were sections of the code that had fees in it and surety bond requirements. Sometimes it was in the code, sometimes it was in our fee schedule. It was kind of a mishmash between the two. And so we're trying to clean it up so that we had fees in the fee schedule. And if there were bond requirements, those were in the body of the ordinance, or the code itself. And so one of the things that just came to light just within the last couple of weeks is we had removed the bond requirements out of the fee schedule, but we never got it put back in. We never got it actually put into that code section. So this is just to put that back in there. There's nothing changed. This is the way the requirements were prior to the recodification. So we're just putting that back in there, those requirements for surety bonds and what the fines are if those weren't done. So that's just putting that back into the code.
Okay, any questions or comments for Ms. Williamson? And this is a an item that we need to place on first consideration, which requires a consensus from the commission. So I am going to go around the horn, and I am going to begin with Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Leonhard,
Yes.
Commissioner Preisinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowder.
Yes.
And I, as the mayor, say yes, so you've got a consensus. We have a consensus to move forward to place it on second consideration at a future meeting. Next is the consent agenda, and I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Leonhard.
I move to approve claims for November 7th, 2020 through November 20th, 2020 in the amount of $752,334.59. Net amount for payroll number 24, effective November 20th, 2020, in the amount of $353,526.03, includes police and fire pension in the amount of $11,839.36.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second on the consent agenda. We are going to begin voting with Commissioner Leonhard,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I, as the mayor, vote aye. The vote is 5-0. The ayes have it. The motion carries, so we've approved the consent agenda for this evening's city commission meeting. We're going to go into executive session. Mr. Kramer, do you suggest we go around the horn here first before I think we'll do that. So do you have anything for the commission and the citizens?
I do not.
Okay. Commissioner Wilson, do you have anything for the commission and the citizens?
Yeah, just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioner Leonhard?
Yep, happy Thanksgiving.
Commissioner Preisinger?
Yes, obviously I say happy Thanksgiving and to be safe, but I'm also proud that Lansing in a special meeting tonight, note a special meeting, just like we had a special meeting, we did not have an emergency meeting. They passed a mask ordinance very similar to ours. They are now the third community in Leavenworth County to have a mask requirement. We, the city of Leavenworth, really we're not the first in the community to do this. Fort Leavenworth was the first to enact a mask requirement, and we proudly stand by them. So now we have 3 of the communities in the county with mask requirements, and I think it's probably 70% of the population, or definitely over 50% of the population.
Right.
So that's good, and thank you, Lansing, for passing that tonight. And that passed 6-1. I'm on the judge nominating commission for the First Judicial District of Kansas. There's a judge retiring. Judge Bednar is retiring, or has very quickly. And there's 4 lay people and 4 attorneys on the nominating commission. And we opened it up to anyone that wanted to apply. And we have 9 applicants, and we'll be interviewing in December, and I'll name them in case anybody, because we can take any input from anybody on them. I'm just not going in any particular order. Amy Crawford, doing business as Coppola out of Salina, Kansas. Pam Burton from Leavenworth. John Kurth from Atchison. Doug Schauder from Atchison. Andrew Waring from Atchison. Michael Jones from Lansing. Jonathan Greger from Baser, Keita Kelly from Tonganoxie, and John Bryant from Kansas City, Kansas. And we do the interviews December 11th, 2020. Undetermined, we have done them at the Judicial Center, depending on how the situation is, we'll determine the venue for that before then. And is facilitated by Justice Eric Rosen, a member of the Kansas Supreme Court. That's all I have.
How does that approach, so you end up recommending?
We normally nominate 3. We did this a couple months ago. I think we sent 3 up out of 9 or 10, and then the governor makes the determination. And it was Joan Loudon from Leavenworth a couple months ago. I think she's the first female judge in Leavenworth County. I want to say history, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. She was appointed as the judge,
Okay.
but she was the one that we sent forward.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bowder?
Yes, I just wanted to say that after our meeting last week, thank you to those people who contacted me afterwards. I had an overwhelming number of emails and posts on Facebook supporting our decision last week. Anyway, thank you to everyone who commented.
Okay. And I will just echo my fellow commissioners in terms of wishing all our citizens a happy Thanksgiving, a safe Thanksgiving, a healthy Thanksgiving. Just take care, and we will have a meeting, probably do we have a study session next week, Mr.?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we do have a study session next week. And so that is all that I have, but City Commission is gonna go into executive session, and I'm going to make a motion to do that. I move to recess into executive session to discuss the contract of the city manager pursuant to the non-elected personnel matters exception KSA 75-4319, paragraph B1. The open meeting to resume in the city commission chambers at, I'm gonna go for 15 minutes, because I don't wanna be rushed, so we'll 8:25 by the.
Second.
By the clock in the city commission chambers.
Oh,
That's okay. That's okay. I guess that did.
8:25.
Human Resources Director Lana Lanter is requested to attend. All right, there's a motion and a second. So we're gonna go around and we're gonna start with Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor, do you want the city attorney to attend?
Yes.
Yes.
So I need to add the city attorney, Mr. David Waters, will also join us.
Okay.
And so we're gonna start the voting with Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Leonhard.
Aye.
Commissioner Preisinger. Aye. Commissioner Bowder.
Aye.
And I as the mayor, I as the mayor vote aye. The ayes have it, 5-0. So we're gonna be in executive session. We'll be back shortly.
Yep, you're fine.
I got it.